If you want to win at life, understand this first: life does not reward intention, emotion, or excuses. Life responds to identity. Who you become under pressure decides everything. Most people spend their energy trying to change circumstances, but circumstances bend only to those who have mastered themselves. Winning life is not about luck or privilege. It is about rules, internal rules, that govern how you think, act, and endure. The first rule is radical responsibility. Everything improves the moment you stop blaming. Blame feels light, but it steals power. Responsibility feels heavy, but it gives control. When you take ownership of your actions, habits, reactions, and decisions, you stop waiting to be saved. You stop negotiating with reality. You act. This single shift separates leaders from victims. The second rule is discipline over motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It disappears when discomfort arrives. Discipline stays. Discipline wakes you up early, trains your body, sharpens your mind, and keeps promises when no one is watching. If you wait to feel ready, you will wait forever. Winners act first. Feelings follow later. The third rule is mastery of the mind. Your thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions. If you obey every thought, you become weak, reactive, and anxious. A trained mind observes before reacting. It chooses calm over chaos, focus over distraction, clarity over noise. Control your attention or someone else will do it for you. The fourth rule is voluntary discomfort. Comfort makes you fragile. Discomfort makes you capable. Choose hard training. Choose difficult conversations. Choose delayed gratification. Each time you willingly face discomfort, fear loses authority over you. The pain you choose today prevents the pain you are forced to endure tomorrow. The fifth rule is consistency, not intensity, not talent. Consistency. Small actions done daily create unstoppable momentum. Anyone can perform once. Few can return again and again. Consistency builds trust with yourself. That trust becomes confidence. Confidence becomes calm. Calm wins under pressure. The sixth rule is respect the body. Your body is your foundation. A weak body creates a weak mind. A disciplined body sharpens focus, builds resilience, and stabilizes emotions. Train it. Fuel it. Rest it. When the body is strong, challenges feel manageable. When the body is neglected, even simple tasks feel heavy. The seventh rule is silence and focus. The world is loud on purpose. Distraction keeps you average. Silence sharpens awareness. Focus multiplies effort. When you reduce noise, you hear your own direction. When you focus deeply, your work gains weight. In a distracted world, focus is dominance. The eighth rule is humility with hunger. Ego wants comfort and praise. Growth demands learning and failure. Be humble enough to be corrected. Hungry enough to keep improving. Every mistake is feedback. Every setback is instruction. Those who protect their ego stop growing. Those who sacrifice ego evolve. The ninth rule is purpose over pleasure. Pleasure is temporary. Purpose carries you through exhaustion, doubt, and pain. When life becomes difficult, pleasure abandons you. Purpose stays. Know why you wake up. Know what you are building. Know what you are willing to suffer for. Direction gives pain meaning. Winning at life is not about defeating others. It is about defeating the weaker version of yourself daily. Stronger habits, clearer thinking, deeper discipline. Life does not become easier. You become stronger. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Build systems rooted in discipline, responsibility, and focus. When chaos arrives, you will not panic. When pressure hits, you will not collapse. When opportunity appears, you will be ready. Life is not fair, but it is honest. It reflects who you are willing to become. Train yourself, sharpen your mind, respect your body, embrace discomfort, and act with purpose. Do this long enough, and life stops resisting you and starts responding. Master yourself before you try to master life, because life does not respond to force, noise, or ambition without control. It responds to clarity. Most people rush outward, chasing achievements, recognition, status, and control over circumstances, believing that once they conquer the external world, peace and confidence will follow. But the truth works in reverse. Without self-mastery, success amplifies chaos. Power magnifies weakness. Achievement exposes what discipline failed to build. The person who cannot control their thoughts, emotions, and impulses will eventually be controlled by pressure, fear, or desire. Self-mastery begins with awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to observe. Most people live on autopilot, reacting instead of choosing, blaming instead of learning, escaping instead of confronting. Awareness is the moment you notice your patterns without justifying them. The moment you see how anger rises, how distraction steals your time, how comfort weakens your resolve. This observation is not judgment. It is responsibility. And responsibility is the foundation of all growth. The mind is the first battlefield. Thoughts appear constantly, but not all thoughts are true, useful, or worth following. A disciplined mind learns to pause before reacting. It creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, freedom is born. Without it, you are predictable, easily manipulated, easily provoked. Mastery means choosing your response even when emotions demand control. Especially then, emotions themselves are not the enemy. Suppressing them creates tension. Obeying them creates chaos. Self-mastery is learning to feel fully without becoming enslaved. Fear does not mean stop. Anger does not mean attack. Sadness does not mean surrender. These are signals, not commands. When you learn to listen without submitting, emotions become guidance rather than obstacles. The body is not separate from the mind. A weak body produces excuses. A neglected body breeds instability. Discipline in physical training teaches lessons no book can explain. It teaches patience through repetition, humility through failure, and resilience through discomfort. When you voluntarily place your body under stress, you train your nervous system to remain calm under pressure. You teach yourself that discomfort will not kill you. And that lesson carries into every area of life. Impulse control is another pillar of mastery. Life constantly offers easy pleasure and instant relief. The undisciplined chase these impulses and wonder why they feel empty. The disciplined delay gratification and build strength. Each time you say no to an impulse, you say yes to your future self. Each time you choose long-term growth over short-term comfort, you reinforce your authority over your own behavior. Self-mastery also requires silence. Not just external silence, but internal stillness. In a world addicted to noise, silence feels uncomfortable because it exposes truth. When distractions fade, unresolved thoughts surface. Many people avoid silence because they avoid themselves, but clarity lives there. Decisions sharpen there. Focus is born there. A person who can sit in silence without restlessness cannot be easily shaken by chaos. Consistency is where mastery becomes visible. Anyone can perform when inspired. Few can act when tired, bored, or unmotivated. Self-mastery is not intensity, it is reliability. Showing up when no one is watching. Doing the small, unglamorous work daily. Progress compounds quietly. Strength is built invisibly long before it is recognized. Ego is the greatest obstacle on this path. Ego wants to be right, admired, comfortable. Mastery demands humility. It requires admitting ignorance, accepting correction, and learning through failure. The ego protects identity. Discipline builds character. One keeps you fragile. The other makes you adaptable. When you master yourself, external challenges lose their power to overwhelm you. Circumstances may still be difficult, but they no longer define you. Pressure becomes training. Failure becomes feedback. Criticism becomes information. You stop seeking control over life and start moving in alignment with it. This is why mastering life without mastering yourself leads to collapse. Wealth without discipline breeds excess. Influence without awareness breeds corruption. Success without inner order creates anxiety. The outer world reflects the inner state. Chaos inside produces chaos outside. Stability inside creates strength outside. Self-mastery is not a destination. It is a daily practice. You will fail. You will slip. The goal is not perfection, but direction. Each day you return to awareness, discipline, and responsibility. You reclaim authority over your life. Before you try to conquer goals, master your habits. Before you try to lead others, lead your reactions. Before you try to shape the world, shape your inner world. Because the person who governs themselves stands unshaken, while others depend on circumstances, and from that inner stability emerges clarity, strength, and a presence that does not need permission to move forward, does not beg for validation, and does not wait for life to become easier before becoming stronger, calmer, and more deliberate in every action they take as they continue walking the path of mastery without distraction or compromise. Pain is a teacher, not a curse. But most people spend their lives running from it, numbing it, or resenting it. They treat pain as an enemy that must be avoided at all costs, not realizing that avoidance is what keeps them weak. Pain is not random. It arrives with information. It reveals limits, exposes attachments, and highlights what still needs to be strengthened. When pain appears, it is not asking for hatred or fear. It is asking for attention. From the moment discomfort enters life, the instinct is to escape. Physical pain seeks medication. Emotional pain seeks distraction. Mental pain seeks denial. Society encourages this behavior, selling comfort as the ultimate goal. But comfort does not create capable humans. It creates fragile ones. Pain, when faced consciously, builds resilience, awareness, and depth. Without it, growth becomes impossible. Pain strips away illusion. When life is easy, it is simple to believe comforting lies about strength, control, and certainty. Pain interrupts that illusion. It forces honesty. It shows where discipline is missing, where expectations were unrealistic, where boundaries were weak. It reveals how much control you truly have over yourself when things do not go as planned. Physical pain teaches the body's limits and potential. In training, muscles tear before they grow. Endurance improves only after lungs burn and legs shake. Those sensations are not signs of damage, but signals of adaptation. The body learns through stress. Avoid all stress, and the body decays. The same principle applies to the mind and character. Emotional pain teaches attachment. Loss, rejection, and disappointment expose how tightly identity was tied to outcomes, people, or approval. Pain reveals dependency. It forces you to ask who you are without what you lost. This question is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Without it, identity remains borrowed rather than built. Mental pain sharpens awareness. Confusion, anxiety, and inner conflict often arise when beliefs no longer align with reality. Instead of suppressing these signals, observing them leads to clarity. Pain shows where thinking is rigid, outdated, or dishonest. It demands adaptation. Resistance prolongs suffering. Understanding shortens it. There is a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Pain is the sensation. Suffering is the story you attach to it. When pain is labeled unfair, meaningless, or permanent, it multiplies. When it is observed as temporary information, it transforms. The same pain can either crush or strengthen, depending on the response. Pain also teaches patience. Growth does not happen instantly. Healing does not follow schedules. Strength does not appear overnight. Pain forces stillness, slowing impulsive behavior and reckless ambition. It teaches timing. Those who listen learn endurance. Those who rush learn injury. Avoiding pain creates long-term damage. The pain you refuse today returns stronger tomorrow. Unexpressed emotions become tension. Ignored problems become crises. Undisciplined habits become chains. Short-term comfort trades long-term freedom. Pain confronted early is manageable. Pain delayed compounds. Facing pain requires courage, not aggression. It is not about forcing positivity or pretending strength. It is about staying present without escape, breathing through discomfort, observing sensations without panic, letting emotions pass without clinging. This calm attention turns pain into instruction rather than trauma. Pain also builds empathy. Those who have suffered deeply recognize suffering in others without judgment. Pain breaks arrogance. It softens ego. It reminds you that strength is not dominance, but endurance. Those who never face pain remain shallow in understanding and harsh in judgment. Many people ask why pain happens to them, but a better question is what pain is trying to teach. Every recurring pain carries a repeated lesson. Until it is learned, it returns. Different forms, same message. Life is persistent, not cruel. Pain sharpens priorities. When discomfort strips away excess, only what matters remains. Superficial desires lose power. Meaning becomes clearer. Direction simplifies. Pain reveals what is worth enduring hardship for and what was never worth chasing. There is also pain in discipline, waking early, training when tired, saying no to temptation, speaking uncomfortable truths. This pain is chosen, and because it is chosen, it is empowering. Chosen pain prevents imposed pain. The discipline you avoid today becomes regret tomorrow. Pain humbles ambition. It reminds you that progress requires balance. Ignoring rest invites injury. Ignoring reflection invites burnout. Pain teaches respect for limits, not surrender to them. It teaches when to push and when to pause. Those who learn from pain stop fearing it. Fear disappears when the unknown becomes understood. Pain loses its power when it is no longer resisted. It becomes another experience, intense but temporary, sharp but useful. Life does not punish with pain. It educates through it. The lesson is always proportional to the resistance. The more you listen, the quieter pain becomes. The more you fight it blindly, the louder it grows. Strength is not the absence of pain. It is the ability to remain steady within it. Wisdom is not avoiding pain. It is extracting meaning from it. Growth is not escaping pain. It is integrating what it teaches into how you move, decide, and live, understanding that every moment of discomfort carries the potential to refine awareness, discipline, and inner stability if met with attention rather than avoidance. And once that relationship with pain changes, life itself stops feeling like an enemy and starts revealing itself as a demanding but honest teacher that never wastes a lesson on those willing to learn. Consistency is a spiritual practice because it trains the part of you that acts without needing reward, excitement, or recognition. It is devotion in motion. While intensity seeks results, consistency builds character. Intensity burns bright and fades quickly. Consistency is quiet, repetitive, and often unnoticed. Yet it reshapes identity over time. It teaches you to honor commitments made in silence, long before success arrives to justify the effort. Most people wait for motivation before they act. Consistency acts regardless. Motivation is emotional and unstable. It rises and falls with mood, energy, and circumstance. Consistency is intentional. It shows up on ordinary days, on difficult days, on days when progress feels invisible. This is why consistency transforms more deeply than bursts of effort ever could. It rewires behavior, not just outcomes. In spiritual traditions, repetition has always been sacred. Daily prayer, meditation, breathing, movement, and service are not dramatic acts. They are simple practices repeated until they shape perception. The power is not in the individual act, but in the return to it. Returning again and again trains humility. You begin each day as a beginner, regardless of how much you already know. Consistency teaches patience. Growth rarely announces itself. You train for weeks without visible change. You study without immediate understanding. You act with integrity without applause. Consistency requires faith in process over proof. It strengthens the ability to move forward without constant validation. That ability is rare, and it creates unshakable confidence. There is discomfort in consistency. Doing the same disciplined actions daily exposes resistance. Boredom arises. Doubt appears. The mind starts negotiating, searching for shortcuts or novelty. Observing this resistance without obeying it is the practice. Each time you stay, you strengthen the part of you that does not depend on impulse. Consistency is also honesty. It reveals who you are without excitement. Anyone can perform when inspired. Consistency shows who you are when nothing is pushing you. It removes self-deception. You see the gap between intention and behavior clearly. This clarity is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Without it, change remains imaginary. The body understands consistency intuitively. Strength comes from repeated tension and release. Flexibility comes from gentle daily stretching. Endurance comes from steady effort, not sporadic extremes. The nervous system adapts through rhythm. The same applies to the mind. Focus deepens through regular attention. Calm grows through repeated stillness. Confidence builds through repeated follow through. Consistency creates identity. You do not become disciplined by thinking about discipline. You become disciplined by acting disciplined repeatedly until it feels natural. Actions performed daily become beliefs. Beliefs shape self-image. Over time, you no longer force consistency. You protect it because it defines you. Many people abandon consistency because they confuse it with rigidity. True consistency is adaptable. It bends without breaking. It adjusts pace without abandoning direction. Missing one day is not failure. Quitting is. Consistency is about returning, not perfection. The return is the sacred act. There is power in smallness. Small actions done daily bypass resistance. They do not trigger fear or overwhelm, yet they accumulate. A few minutes of stillness daily changes perception. A short daily workout transforms health. A page of writing a day builds mastery. Consistency respects the reality of human energy and works with it instead of against it. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Each kept promise strengthens self-respect. Each broken promise weakens it. Over time, this internal trust determines confidence more than external success. When you know you will do what you say, regardless of mood, fear loses its leverage. Discipline sustained over time becomes freedom. At first, consistency feels restrictive. It requires structure, boundaries, and restraint. But eventually, it simplifies life. Decisions decrease. Energy is conserved. Mental noise quiets. Freedom emerges not from endless choice, but from reliable structure. Consistency is a form of devotion to your future self. You work today for results you may not see for months or years. This requires humility and patience. It is an act of service without immediate reward. This is why it feels spiritual. You act in alignment with values rather than outcomes. There is also consistency in how you speak, think, and respond. Emotional consistency creates stability. Responding rather than reacting builds inner peace. Choosing the same values under pressure reveals integrity. This is harder than physical consistency, but more transformative. When life becomes chaotic, consistency becomes an anchor. Simple daily practices stabilize the mind when circumstances are uncertain. You cannot control events, but you can control return. Returning to what grounds you restores order internally even when external order is absent. Consistency does not guarantee immediate success. It guarantees depth. It builds a foundation strong enough to support success when it arrives. Without it, success collapses under its own weight. This is why consistency outlasts talent, intelligence, and motivation. It is not dramatic. It is not exciting. It is steady, deliberate, and faithful. Over time, it reshapes who you are, how you think, and how you move through the world, turning ordinary actions into a quiet form of devotion that refines awareness, strengthens discipline, and aligns daily behavior with deeper intention until growth becomes inevitable and progress continues regardless of recognition, difficulty, or delay. Responsibility creates freedom because it returns power to where it belongs, inside the individual rather than in circumstances, people, or luck. Most people believe freedom comes from having fewer obligations, fewer limits, and fewer duties. They want life to be easy, flexible, and unrestricted. But that version of freedom is fragile. It depends on things going right. The moment pressure appears, that freedom collapses. True freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is the ability to carry responsibility without being crushed by it. When you avoid responsibility, you also avoid control. Every excuse you accept hands your power to something outside yourself. Blame may feel relieving in the moment, but it locks you into helplessness. If something is not your responsibility, then you cannot change it. Responsibility may feel heavy at first, but within that weight is choice. Choice is freedom. Taking responsibility begins with honesty. It means acknowledging where you are without softening the truth. Your habits, your discipline, your reactions, your results. This honesty can be uncomfortable because it removes protective stories. But without it, growth is impossible. Responsibility is not about self-criticism. It is about clarity. Once you see clearly, action becomes possible. Responsibility shifts your focus from control over outcomes to control over actions. You may not control circumstances, but you control preparation. You may not control how others behave, but you control how you respond. This shift reduces anxiety. Anxiety thrives when you try to manage what is beyond your reach. Responsibility anchors you to what is within reach. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. That is impulse. Impulse leads to dependency on mood, desire, and comfort. Responsibility disciplines impulse. It teaches you to act based on values rather than feelings. The more you act from values, the less you are controlled by external pressure or internal fluctuation. There is responsibility in discipline, waking up early, training consistently, learning skills slowly. These choices feel restrictive initially, but they expand capacity. Capacity creates options. Options create freedom. A disciplined body moves freely. A disciplined mind thinks clearly. A disciplined life has fewer emergencies and more choice. Avoiding responsibility creates hidden chains. Financial irresponsibility creates debt. Emotional irresponsibility creates unstable relationships. Physical irresponsibility creates illness. Mental irresponsibility creates confusion. These consequences restrict freedom far more than the effort required to prevent them. Responsibility today prevents captivity tomorrow. Responsibility also creates respect, not from others first, but from yourself. Self-respect grows when actions align with commitments. This internal respect becomes confidence. Confidence is not arrogance. It is trust in your ability to handle life. That trust reduces fear of the future, because you know you can respond rather than panic. There is freedom in owning mistakes. When mistakes are blamed on others or circumstances, learning stops. When mistakes are owned, lessons appear. Each lesson reduces the chance of repetition. Over time, this creates competence. Competence is freedom. The more capable you are, the fewer situations overwhelm you. Responsibility clarifies boundaries. When you take responsibility for your energy, time, and focus, you stop overcommitting. You learn to say no without guilt. You stop seeking approval at the cost of self-betrayal. This creates emotional freedom. You are no longer pulled in every direction by expectation. Responsibility is also about response. Life will bring loss, pressure, unfairness, and pain. Responsibility does not deny these realities. It refuses to let them define identity. You may not be responsible for what happened, but you are responsible for how you integrate it. This distinction separates resilience from bitterness. Many people fear responsibility because they associate it with blame and punishment. But responsibility is neutral. It is simply ownership. Ownership allows improvement. Without ownership, problems repeat endlessly. With ownership, even difficult circumstances become manageable. Freedom expands as responsibility increases. This is visible in every area of life. A person who takes responsibility for health enjoys physical freedom. A person who takes responsibility for learning enjoys intellectual freedom. A person who takes responsibility for emotions enjoys inner peace. Each layer of responsibility removes a layer of dependence. Responsibility also simplifies life. Complaining requires energy. Blaming requires justification. Responsibility requires action. Action is direct. It eliminates mental noise. Once responsibility is accepted, decisions become clearer. You stop negotiating with reality and start working with it. There is also responsibility in leadership, even of your own life. Leadership is not authority over others. It is authority over direction. When you lead yourself well, chaos decreases. Structure appears. Momentum builds. This internal order reduces stress and increases clarity. Freedom without responsibility is chaos. Responsibility without freedom is oppression. But when responsibility is chosen voluntarily, it becomes empowering. You are no longer waiting for permission, rescue, or perfect conditions. You move forward based on what you can do now. Taking responsibility does not mean carrying everything alone. It means choosing your role consciously. It means asking for help when needed, not from weakness but from wisdom. Avoiding help out of pride is also irresponsibility. Responsibility trains resilience. When setbacks happen, you adjust instead of collapse. You analyze instead of complain. Over time, challenges lose their threat because you trust your capacity to respond. This is why responsibility creates freedom. It removes dependency, builds competence, sharpens clarity, and stabilizes the mind. It replaces fear with agency and confusion with direction. As responsibility deepens, life stops feeling like something that happens to you and starts feeling like something you actively participate in, where each choice strengthens your ability to move deliberately through uncertainty, pressure, and change with increasing calm, confidence, and inner stability. Your body is your first weapon and your first temple because it is the only instrument you are given to experience, influence, and endure life. Before words, before tools, before status or skill, there is the body. It moves you forward or holds you back. It absorbs pressure or collapses under it. Treating the body as weak, disposable, or secondary is a misunderstanding that costs clarity, confidence, and resilience. The body is a weapon not in the sense of violence, but in readiness. A prepared body responds when life demands effort. Strength allows action without hesitation. Endurance allows persistence without panic. Coordination allows precision instead of chaos. When the body is neglected, even simple challenges feel overwhelming. Fatigue clouds judgment. Discomfort shortens patience. Weakness becomes an excuse the mind gladly accepts. The body is also the first teacher of discipline. It does not respond to intention alone. It responds to action repeated over time. You cannot negotiate strength. You must earn it. This honesty makes the body a powerful training ground for character. Each workout, stretch, breath, and posture reinforces the relationship between effort and result. The body never lies. It reflects exactly how you live. Training the body trains the nervous system. Under physical stress, the body learns whether to panic or remain calm. When you choose discomfort voluntarily, you teach yourself that pressure is survivable. Heart rate rises, muscles burn, breath shortens, yet you remain present. This presence carries into daily life. Stress at work, conflict in relationships, and uncertainty in decisions become manageable because the body recognizes pressure without alarm. The body as a temple demands respect. Respect is not indulgence, it is maintenance. Proper movement, nutrition, rest, and recovery are not luxuries. They are responsibilities. A neglected temple becomes unstable. A respected one becomes a place of clarity and strength. When you respect the body, you listen to its signals without being ruled by them. You push when growth is needed and rest when repair is required. Posture alone shapes mindset. A collapsed body invites defeat. An upright body invites confidence. Breath shapes emotion. Shallow breath feeds anxiety. Deep, controlled breath restores calm. These are not abstract ideas. They are direct connections between body and mind. Ignoring them disconnects you from control. Honoring them returns agency. The body stores experience. Tension accumulates where emotions are suppressed. Weakness appears where movement is avoided. Pain often arises where awareness is lacking. Training becomes a form of listening. Each tight muscle, each imbalance, each ache carries information. Addressing it prevents injury. Ignoring it invites breakdown. The weapon aspect of the body is also about protection. Not only physical protection, but psychological. A strong body commands respect without words. It creates boundaries. It reduces vulnerability to intimidation. Confidence grounded in physical capability is quiet and stable. It does not need to announce itself. Physical discipline reduces mental noise. Movement burns excess energy that would otherwise become anxiety. Training creates structure in the day. Structure creates order in the mind. A body accustomed to routine stabilizes emotional fluctuation. This stability improves decision-making and focus. The body is also the gateway to presence. You cannot live in the past or future while fully engaged in movement. Training anchors attention in the present moment. Breath, balance, and coordination demand awareness. This presence sharpens perception beyond the gym or training space. Neglecting the body creates dependency. Dependency on stimulants for energy. Dependency on medication for discomfort. Dependency on motivation for action. A trained body reduces reliance on external support. It generates its own energy, resilience, and stability. The body ages regardless of intention. Ignoring it accelerates decline. Training slows it. Mobility preserves independence. Strength preserves dignity. Endurance preserves participation in life. Physical preparation is not about appearance. It is about longevity and capability. The body also humbles ego. It exposes limits honestly. You cannot fake strength under load. You cannot pretend endurance when breath gives out. This humility is healthy. It grounds ambition in reality. It encourages patience. It prevents arrogance. The temple aspect reminds you that the body houses the mind. A chaotic environment creates chaotic thought. A stable body creates a stable inner space. Clean movement, steady breath, and disciplined care cultivate clarity. This clarity improves learning, creativity, and emotional regulation. Training the body is also an act of self-respect. It communicates value. When you invest time and effort into physical care, you affirm that your life is worth maintaining. This message influences every other decision. The weapon and temple must coexist. Training without respect leads to injury. Respect without challenge leads to decay. Balance is mastery, pushing when necessary, protecting when necessary, listening always. Life does not pause to let you prepare. Challenges appear without warning. A trained body responds. An untrained body negotiates and delays. Preparation creates readiness. Readiness creates calm. When the body is strong, the mind follows. When the body is stable, emotions settle. When the body is disciplined, choices become clearer. This is why the body is the first weapon and the first temple, because through it you learn endurance, awareness, respect and presence, shaping not only physical capability, but the way you stand, breathe, decide, and move through pressure with increasing control and clarity, as the body becomes a reliable foundation rather than a fragile obstacle in the path of life. Silence and focus are modern superpowers because the world is designed to steal both from you. Noise is no longer accidental. It is engineered. Notifications, opinions, endless content, constant comparison, and artificial urgency pull attention in every direction. In this environment, the person who can remain silent and focused gains an advantage so strong it feels unfair. Not because they work harder, but because they work with clarity while others drown in distraction. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of unnecessary input. A silent mind can hear what matters. Most people confuse stimulation with information. They consume constantly but understand little. Silence creates space for integration. Without space, knowledge stays shallow. Insight requires stillness. Focus is sustained attention applied deliberately. It is not multitasking. Multitasking is fractured attention disguised as productivity. Focus demands commitment to one task, one thought, one moment. This commitment is uncomfortable at first because the mind is used to novelty. Discomfort is the withdrawal symptom of distraction. Those who endure it gain depth. Silence exposes truth. When external noise fades, internal noise becomes audible. Unresolved thoughts, fears, and doubts surface. This is why many people avoid silence. They prefer constant input to avoid confrontation with themselves. But clarity lives beyond that discomfort. Silence reveals patterns. It shows where energy leaks. It highlights what truly matters. Focus transforms effort into progress. Without focus, effort scatters. Time passes, activity increases, but results remain small. With focus, even limited time produces meaningful output. Focus aligns action with intention. It reduces wasted motion. It sharpens decision-making. Silence trains patience. It slows reaction and deepens response. When you stop reacting to every stimulus, you regain choice. Choice is power. Power comes from the ability to pause. In that pause, impulsive decisions lose control. This applies to conflict, temptation, and fear. A silent mind sees options where a noisy mind sees urgency. The mind is a muscle shaped by use. Constant distraction trains restlessness. Constant stimulation trains dependency. Silence retrains attention. At first, the mind resists. It seeks entertainment. It seeks validation. Staying with silence teaches endurance. Over time, stillness becomes familiar. Focus deepens naturally. Silence also restores creativity. Creativity is not forced. It emerges when the mind is not crowded. Ideas connect when there is room for them to meet. Silence allows subconscious processing. Many breakthroughs occur in moments of quiet because the mind finally has space to organize information. Focus is protection. It guards time, energy, and intention. A focused person is difficult to manipulate. Marketing, outrage, and fear lose influence when attention is disciplined. Focus creates independence from external agendas. Silence improves listening. When you stop preparing responses, you hear meaning. Conversations deepen. Relationships stabilize. Understanding replaces assumption. Silence teaches humility. It reminds you that not everything requires a reaction. In work, focus creates mastery. Skill improves through deliberate practice, not scattered repetition. Focus allows feedback to be integrated. Errors are noticed and corrected. This leads to competence. Competence builds confidence. Confidence reduces anxiety. Silence also calms the nervous system. Constant input keeps the body in alert mode. Silence signals safety. Breath slows. Muscles relax. This physiological shift improves reasoning and emotional regulation. Decisions made from calm are more accurate than decisions made from urgency. The modern world rewards speed, but speed without focus leads to mistakes. Focus allows slow thinking where it matters. It balances speed with accuracy. This balance is rare and valuable. Silence builds inner authority. When you are not constantly absorbing others' opinions, your own voice becomes clearer. Values strengthen. Direction simplifies. You stop chasing every trend and start moving intentionally. There is power in saying less. Words carry more weight when they are chosen carefully. Silence makes communication precise. It removes noise from expression. This applies to speech, writing, and action. Focus also strengthens discipline. It requires saying no repeatedly. No to distraction. No to urgency. No to unnecessary input. Each no reinforces boundaries. Boundaries protect energy. Protected energy sustains effort. Silence does not mean isolation. It means selective engagement. Choosing when to engage and when to withdraw. This choice preserves balance. Constant engagement drains. Conscious engagement enriches. The cost of distraction is invisible but severe. Fragmented attention weakens memory, reduces empathy, and shortens patience. Over time, it reshapes identity. Focus reverses this damage. It restores depth. Silence trains courage. Sitting with thoughts without escape requires strength. It removes comfort. But comfort is not growth. Silence builds tolerance for stillness. This stillness becomes composure under pressure. In a loud world, quiet discipline stands out. While others react, you observe. While others rush, you prepare. While others scatter, you commit. This is why silence and focus feel like superpowers. They are rare, cultivated, and decisive. They allow you to move through complexity with clarity, resist manipulation without effort, and direct energy toward what truly matters, turning attention into a tool rather than a liability, as the ability to be still and focused becomes the foundation for meaningful work, deep understanding, and deliberate action in a world that profits from your distraction